Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I'm not the heartbreaker tonight. As you can see, it's the Hall of Famer, Mr. 15,000, the GOAT, T-Rex. Uh, and well, we have the talking forehead up to the top of me here. And welcome. We are ready to start Inclusion Matters podcast.
All right, and we'd like to welcome Mr. Ernest Price to the podcast. How you doing tonight?
Doing well, sir. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Um, I go by Smiley. I'm been a pro wrestler for the past 10 years now. Um, Ernest Price is technically the doctor from the asylum I'm usually stationed out at. But 10 years now I've been wrestling. Started training with House of Glory back in 2012, I believe it was. About 6 months later, had my first match and never really turned back since. Been very fortunate. Been to some really cool places. Been on AEW. Did the New Japan show when they came to New York. Uh, I've been able to travel to Canada, all over the U.S. Coming October, I'm supposed to be going out to Guatemala to wrestle. So wrestling's taken me to some pretty cool places and helped me meet some pretty cool guys. So
Very nice. All right, Mr. Hall of Famer, you want to start us off with a question? Can't hear you.
I'm actually kind of interested in your time with House of Glory. I'd like to know more because I know that like JD from New York, 206 talks about that a lot, and I believe Master P owns House of Glory.
from what I hear, yeah. Yeah, JD's one of our ring announcers. He's on the commentary team. Not ring announcer, but he's on the commentary team. So he's on almost all the shows. Him and Solid Monster. And then they got Hillary, Dr. Hillary. He's our third man in the booth. But yeah, Master P bought the company a few years back now. So that's kind of interesting, being being owned by the No Limits crew and all that stuff. um, yeah, the owners, Brian XL, Amazing Red, they opened up the school. See, I've been there 11 years. They probably opened it up like 12 years ago or 13 years ago, something like that. It was pretty early on that I joined the school after they had opened. Um, I'm a former House of Glory world champion there, which was an honor because I was actually the first student of the school to actually capture the world heavyweight title, and I was the third champion ever. First being Ricochet, and then he lost it to Brian XL, and then I beat Brian XL for it. But
Wow, that's very impressive.
thank you.
So, who were your wrestling heroes growing up?
Oof, that's a big list. First one that comes to mind is Delirious, which I've been very fortunate to actually wrestle recently. Back in March, I had an opportunity to wrestle Delirious, which was a dream come true for me personally, because he's always been one of my favorites. He's been somebody I consider one of the best ever. And since then, I in that match, I ended up passing out. So I was not able to beat Delirious, but Delirious still never beat me. So I like to hold on to that and like point out, like, he never beat me. I never tapped out. He never pinned me. So actually, come August 19th in a couple weeks here for Three Legacies Wrestling, which is the people that put on our first meeting at Three Legacies Wrestling, we're actually going to have they're doing a stadium show in Pennsylvania, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, for the Clipper Stadium. And Delirious accepts my challenge because I laid down a challenge a couple days ago. It will be me and Delirious one-on-one again in a submission match, which is kind of fun for me because I love submissions and I have a lot of very exotic and unique submissions. But like, I'm not known for my submissions. I'm more known for my like high flying and acrobatic style. I'm more known for being the guy who's flipping all over the ring and stuff like that. So come the 19th, I got to show off a whole different side of me in front of a stadium full of people. But Delirious, like I said, Delirious is definitely one of them. Amazing Red was one, too. My brother, my baby brother actually introduced me to Amazing Red when YouTube was like brand new. Like when YouTube first started, he showed me a clip of Amazing Red versus Jimmy Yang, and I was sold ever since then. But you can see a lot of inspiration in my character as well from like Mil Mascaras, where like Mil would do things like the opponent would go for his mask, he ripped the mask off, and there's another one underneath, and he'd go for another one, and there's another one underneath, and stuff like that. And I've utilized that many a times to get the advantage on my opponents, like the mind games, if you will.
So before we ask the next question, we need to break in and thank our sponsor, El Ranchero.
Yes.
And Precision Power Washing.
Yes. So now that those are out of the way, Mr. Hall of Famer, you got another question?
Yeah, actually, I do. So I heard you mention people like Ricochet and that. Now, Ricochet's getting a heck of a return right now in WWE. He started, you said, in House of Glory. So here's my question to you. Have you wrestled Ricochet? And if you have, like, what style did you wrestle? Because you look more Lucha Libre to me.
I have actually wrestled Ricochet. I've wrestled him twice now. Once was when he first won the House of Glory Heavyweight Championship. I was actually his first challenger. I had won a Battle Royal or Royal Rumble the night that he won the belt, giving me the shot at the next show. So I got to wrestle him on that one, and then also for Excellence Pro Wrestling in Pennsylvania, they gave me an opportunity to wrestle him again. And unfortunately, he beat me both times. So that's my white whale, if you will, of somebody that I just can't seem to get a win on. But
that's really not a bad person, though, not to have a win on, though.
Right. And I understand I am a husky boy. Like I actually try and put out a T-shirt right now. I'm hoping to get made soon that says my talent is not measured by my waistline. Because a lot of people, like, they see me and they're like, oh, you kind of a big boy, you kind of a chunky dude. Like, I'm not expecting that from you. And then you watch me wrestle and I'm doing corkscrew moonsaults and standing shooting star press and all this other crazy stuff. But, people don't expect it because I'm a chubby guy. But Ricochet, man, he threw me around like I was a baby. Like, that man is strong, like crazy strong. Like I'm on my butt, he's picking me up for suplexes and whew. Style wise, I have like lucha influence definitely, but like I try to keep my style very well rounded and very like all over the place. Like I might have some lucha movements that will get me into certain suplexes or certain power bombs and stuff like that. So it's like I use the lucha to get into more of a technical move, or like maybe I'll use more of a brawling style to get me into like that submission move. So I love blending styles and keeping it unpredictable. So that's what I tried to do with Ricochet. And I gave him a run for his money. Like he beat me, and I have no problem saying that. He beat me. But I didn't make it easy for him either.
Awesome. Yeah. Can you tell us about your AEW experience that you brought up earlier?
Yeah, definitely. It was funny because the AEW one was like, I think it was like the week after I did the New Japan one. So like those two opportunities were like right back to back. And man, you want to talk about an eye-opening experience. Like, unfortunately, I didn't have much in-ring time when I did the AEW ring, the opportunity, but I couldn't have asked for like a better opportunity. I went in there, it was a trios match. And the guys were standing across the ring. from me were Private Party, who are two of my best friends. Like I love those two to death. Um, I mean, we came up together. You know, they were both House of Glory boys. Like Isaiah Cassidy, I have been training with since he was about 13 years old. So like, I literally watched that kid grow into a man. And then and Mark Quinn, I love that kid to death. Definitely like a brother to me. But like me and him, we would just compete. Like if he hit a shooting star off the top rope, I had to hit a shooting star off the top rope. Like we would play games of horse where like let's see who can outdo the other one and who can do a move that the other one can't do. And like he had me like in my skinnier days, of course, he had me hitting like 630s off the top rope. And like we never got to pull it off in a match. We tried, I think we were gonna try once against the Young Bucks when we wrestled them for House of Glory. But we used to do one where we would stand on the top rope together, side by side, and we would do double 630s together, like side by side. And like we wanted to break it out so bad, but we never got the opportunity. We were a tag team for a little while there. We called ourselves the High Spot Heroes. But yeah, I mean, it was great because like I'm standing there, and I literally the bell rings, and it's me and Mark Quinn standing across the ring from each other, and like I just got those such butterflies like right in the like pit of my like chest. It was so great. And then on top of that, like they're teaming with Matt Hardy, who's of course somebody I've grown up watching, and like I mean, you can always see the Hardy Boys were definitely an influence in my style. So that high risk and all that stuff. So like it's Matt Hardy and it's two of my best friends. It's like this is insane. But like what also kind of made that day like crazy special is like right before like I'm about to go out there, like I'm sitting there, I'm trying to warm up, trying to get excited. And I looked at Mark Quinn and I go, you know what today is, right? And he goes, no, what's today? I go, today's like the 2 year or the 3 year anniversary of Matt Travis passing away, who was one of the students at House of Glory who was killed in a bicycle accident. And like, I just remember looking at him going, this is the mattiest thing I can think of is on the day that's probably going to be like, it would be the saddest day of the year. I get to share the ring with my best friends, somebody I looked up to on the grandest stage that I've ever been on. And like I just had this smile on my face. Like you couldn't have asked for a better situation, you know? So that was a very like emotional day. There's a handful of times I can remember crying, and I got back from that one and I cried a bit. So very emotional.
That's an amazing story.
Thank you.
And it, like you said, that had to give you some comfort too. To like, that is one of your biggest things, and you're, across from somebody that you train with. You know what I mean? So that might have helped with the nerves a little bit, I would assume.
I mean, I was very excited, of course, and like, I don't know, I felt comfortable. Like I thought I was like, I'm gonna poop bricks out there. I know I am. But like I got out there and I remember like standing there waiting for them, and like I looked around and I was looking at the crowd and I went, I'm okay right now. I'm comfortable right now. Like I wasn't as nervous as I thought I was gonna be. I was more excited, and I was just happy to be there. You know? I want to get back there so bad.
I have a feeling that's gonna happen.
I hope so.
All right, Hall of Famer, you got a question?
Your Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling.
Oh, this. I've definitely been asked this one before, and I feel like it's changed every time I've done it. It's just so hard to like choose just four. Like I definitely have to put. If I was going for me personally, right? Like if I went a Mount Rushmore of people that have like inspired me and like that I could go watch any time of the day. Like just I'm bored, put them on, watch it, be entertained. I would have to go. Delirious is definitely one. Amazing Red, of course, has got to be up there. To me, still one of the greatest of all times. El Generico is huge for me. Like, just something about like it was never like the moves he did. Like, he had cool moves, but it was just like you connected with him. Like, I felt every time he hurt, I felt it. So like Delirious, Red, Generico. Oh, I mean, Tommy Dreamer's always been one of my guys. He's always been one of my top guys. And same situation as Joe. I mean, Tommy Dreamer's not out there hitting 450s or anything like that, but like he's one of them guys that's like I remember watching and like him and the Sandman when they had that match with the kendo stick where he was blasting him in the back with the kendo stick. Like that match holds very near and dear to my heart because like that one hit me real hard. So I'll go with those four for this one. Like I said, I feel like every time I answer this one, I change answers because there's so many guys out there.
Absolutely. How about your top 5 tag teams of all time?
Ooh, top 5 tag teams. That's I'm gonna have to go. Road Warriors is definitely gonna be in there. I don't know if I'm putting these in order quite yet, but I know Road Warriors is definitely one because the Road Warriors is what got me into wrestling. So like when I was younger, I was running around my grandmother's house like a maniac. And I remember running into the living room. My uncles are sitting down in their recliners and they're watching wrestling. And I run into the room and I look and it's Demolition in the ring with like their masks on. And I'm like, what is that? And then all of a sudden you hear the, ooh, what a rush. And Legion of Doom comes out and they got the shoulder pads and the makeup and they're huge. And I'm like, what is this? And then that day they were teaming with Ultimate Warrior. So then you got Warrior running down the ramp, and I went, I'm sold. And I've been a fan ever since. So Legion of Doom, Road Warriors, whichever one you want to call them, definitely in there. Team 3D is definitely got to be in there for me. Love watching Team 3D. I think I'm gonna have to go SAT. SAT's definitely got to be one. The uncles, my wrestling uncles, if you will. I mean, they were pretty much with them and Red, that little clique with Amazing Red, SAT, Brian XL, Chris Devine, Quiet Storm. They all like kind of innovated what we do today. So definitely got to have them in there. The Rockers are another team I could watch any time of the day. You know, I love watching the Rockers. And then I would have to say Rock and Roll Express. Go a little old school for it. Rock and Roll Express is definitely another one.
I like that list.
I had funny enough the am I allowed to curse on here?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if that was but the first time I ever wrestled on a show, I remember I'm sitting backstage and I'm getting nervous. My dad, my siblings had come down to see the show. So I'm like nervous. I'm sitting backstage and I'm like getting ready for my match or whatever. And all of a sudden the door flies open and there's standing Ricky Morton in the doorway. He looks, he goes, I'm Ricky Morton. This is my motherfucking chair. Puts the chair down and walks away. And I went, that just actually happened? Like I looked at the guy I was teaming with. I went, that happened, right? He goes, yes, it did. And then many years later, like 7, 8 years later, I'm doing one of the USA Pro shows in Long Island. Ricky Morton comes in, he puts his bag down on top of one of the chairs and goes, I'm Ricky Morton. That's my motherfucking chair. And I went, he does it again. Like 8 years later, he still hits that same line, and it killed me.
That's awesome. At least you know that was his chair.
Nobody touched it.
So my question to you now is, build your favorite WrestleMania card if you're booking it. What would be your like 3 or 4 best matches you would want to see, like dream matches?
Oh my! Are we going like sticking to WWE roster, or are we going
However you
No,
want.
it could be anybody, any
Oh.
generation.
Ooh, this is gonna be a crazy one. All right, it's 3 or 4 matches. It said, huh? Hmm. All right. Are you guys familiar with Dean Allmark by chance?
I've heard the name. I'm trying
He's
to
a
go
he's a
back.
wrestler out of England. Phenomenal wrestler. Somebody that I've fortunately been able to get and become very close friends with through wrestling and stuff like that. But I would love to see like do retired wrestlers count too?
Yep.
They do. Okay. I would love to see like a Dean Allmark and Nigel McGuinness. Like just like because Dean Allmark's he's so technically ridiculously good, and like his style, he's like one of my favorite guys. Like I watch Dean all day, and then
That'd be
like
a
I'll
hard,
watch him, and then I'll hit him up and go, I was thinking about that same thing, because like we have like the same mind. Like I love it, but like Nigel was always one of my favorites. Like the way
hard
Nigel,
hitter. He was a hard hitter.
oh yeah. Um, I mean, dream match would definitely be Dudley Boys versus Road Warriors, without a doubt. Uh, hmm. I, I was listening to Gregory Irons' podcast the other day, and they were like kind of booking an invasion storyline on their podcast between AEW and WWE, and they were booking matches. And there was one matchup I was so shocked they didn't book, and I'll put it in my Rumble because they didn't announce it. But it's Buddy Murphy versus Dominic with Rhea Ripley as special guest referee.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Right?
Right there with you.
Like, tell me that wouldn't be awesome. Oh my god. I remember because like I was listening to them, and they
Who you
both had
putting
like,
over? Who you
what's that?
putting over in that though? Who you putting over in that though?
Oh, I think I'd put Dom over. I
Oh.
think I would put Dom over. I feel like that would be the bigger shocker. Like everybody would think she'd side with Buddy, but that's a tough one. And then let's see one more. What's a good one? Hmm. I'm drawing blanks now. All right, I'll go. I would love to have seen Edge and Kenny Omega. I would probably make that my main event. Especially if we go on Prime, like Prime Edge. I feel like him and Kenny would have been like ridiculously fun.
Yeah, I mean, with the mic work plus the in-ring work that they could have worked out in a storyline would have been insane.
Oh yeah.
So, what's the best advice that your trainers ever given you, and do you still use that advice today?
Oh my god, it's so much. It's and I love it because like Red's got a reputation, right? He was the high flyer. He especially in TNA they made him do a lot of car crash matches and stuff like that where it was like go out there, as soon as they get in the ring they're telling him take it home. It's like what? So like but like Red is like when he teaches, man, like he gets down and dirty. Like he tells you like this is why this doesn't work. This is why you should be doing it like this. And like, actually, one of my favorite pieces of advice, and something I tell a lot of people now, like my goal in wrestling is to one day become a trainer. Like I love teaching. Like I love going to House of Glory, and like I don't even think I go to House of Glory much anymore to train myself. Like I go and I see some of the younger students go, hey, your roles were a little wonky. Come here, let me help you out. Because I just love teaching. But like a lot of the things I tell a lot of the younger students came from Bull James. when we did CZW, and he comes up and he's talking to us. He goes, "Just remember, professional wrestling is not acting; it's reacting." And like, just something about that statement just kind of clicked. It's like, oh, that makes so much more sense. So like, that's something I try and push on a lot of people, and I keep in mind a lot for myself.
I like that statement.
Right?
That wow.
It's not acting; it's reacting. Give your opponent something to react to, and everything comes out a lot smoother.
All right, Hall of Famer, what you got?
Okay, so now we're gonna go a little lucha.
All right.
Uh, your favorite. I'm gonna do it like this. Your favorite. I want to see your favorite tag style lucha and your singles, the like all time favorite. Like if you had a dream match that you could wrestle anybody, you personally, who would you want to be in a tag team with, and who would you want to wrestle?
Ooh. All right. So singles wise, I want to wrestle Skida. And like, that's a close one because to me, it's like Skida and like Solar are like right there together. Because like those are like two of my all-time favorites. Like I tell people about them today. Like people who don't know Lucha, it's like, no, you need to go watch these guys because these guys are ridiculous. Like some of my favorite things to watch on YouTube is just like Solar and Negro Navarro doing like submission things. Like literally just getting the young boy in the ring and then they trade submissions on the young boy to see who can outdo the other one. It's so good. And then like that's where I got like a lot of my like submission inspiration from. But like, man, and like to think like how many people like Skida has influenced, you know, like he's trained here Chris Hero, he's trained Claudio Castagnoli, you know, most of the guys from like the Chikara Wrestle Factory, like, oh, he's so good. And like he's an older guy and he still goes. Like he comes down to New York every so often for like some of the lucha shows. And I want to go so bad, but like every time they put those shows on, it's the same exact day as Pro Wrestling Magic. And like that's kind of like my home away from home. So matter of fact, right there. I got my Pro Wrestling Magic Trios title over here and my Dark Arts title over here.
Very nice.
So I'm a champion. I gotta show up, I suppose. But tag wise. I know the team I want to wrestle would be Psycho Circus. Because I love Psycho Circus. And Dave the Clown has actually I've become real cool with Dave the Clown. He's super cool. And like I talk to him all the time on Instagram and stuff like that. Psycho Clown is another one of my favorites and could have easily made the Mount Rushmore personally. Love Psycho Clown to death. And but who I team with is tough. I mean, I got my stable. I got my little stable. We call ourselves Project Mayhem. It's me, the one called Eden, and the Psycho Bear Osito, and then our newest member, the Mayhem Minion, V Daniels, and then we have our manager Trixie. So any three of us for Psycho Circus would be great. But then if I wanted to build like a super lucha team, I would go with Lince Dorado and I would say Pentagon would definitely have to be one of them. So me, Pentagon, Lince Dorado, and Ares. Love Ares. That man's style is a thing of beauty.
So what's the craziest match you've ever been in?
Ooh, craziest match. I mean, the debut of Smiley, because there was another character before the Smiley one. So like the debut of the Smiley character was actually in a trios match, and standing across the ring from me was um, Necro Butcher, which is slightly
Oh,
terrifying because the man comes out headbutting a chair and he's already bleeding before the match even starts. So like that's terrifying. He beat the hell out of me, but to say I shared the ring with Necro Butcher was pretty cool. Um, hmm. But we did one for CZW, the fighter. I think it's called Fighter Flight match, where they put podiums kind of like on the turnbuckles. So they're like these little platforms that you can climb up onto, and they give you like good extra, I don't know, probably like 3-4 feet up. And I got up there and I was doing some dumb stuff off of those. So that match was pretty wild. I think me and Jason Gorey were doing like flips off of them onto people on the outside of the ring. Which definitely thought we were gonna die. Or Mike Grassa was in the match with me that day, and he's one of my people I team with every so often as well. And they in this business they say you love the ones you love the most, you hit the hardest. So I beat the hell out of Mike Grasso. We got to the top of the platform, and I came off the platform giving him an RKO from the top, and he hit so hard he fractured his ribs.
oh.
So that one was a little rough. If I remember correctly, I swallowed a lot of poison mist that day. So using the bathroom, it was very bizarre. You see a lot of colors that aren't supposed to be in there. But I would have to say probably that one.
Got you.
Yeah.
All right, Hall of Famer, you're up.
All right. Since we're on the topic of doing we're kind of grilling you tonight. I'll give you something a little lighter right now.
Give it.
What's your pre and post match routine?
A lot of the guys like to give me a hard time because I don't really have much of a pre-match routine. I try to get to the shows early because I like to get in the ring. I get to bounce around, kind of get the blood flowing, do some moonsaults off the top, land on my feet, kind of get limber, I guess you could call it. But like other than that, like I don't really have much of one. I think I get to the back and like while my opponent goes out to do his thing, I'll probably like drop down to make a prayer or something like that to myself. Then I stand up and kind of just shake my arms up, throw them up to the side, and go, all right, here we go. And then I just kind of go out there and proceed to do dumb, ridiculous, agile, acrobatic stuff that somebody my size should not be able to do. And they're like, I'll get to the back and everyone's like, you didn't stretch, you didn't do nothing. And I went, I was just going with the flow. So then after match, I just kind of take a little minute, breathe, relax, and then I try and get right back out there because I either want to watch the rest of the show or I want to go see the fans and hang out with them. They're big. They're a big part of the big part of why I do this. I know I have a clip. I think it's pinned is the term for it on Twitter and my Instagram with this one fan, Mikey, who's one of my favorite people in this world. He was born 10 weeks early. I think it was 10 weeks early. He was born 10 weeks early. He has cerebral palsy, and he's wheelchair bound. So he can't do much. He's nonverbal, but like he loves wrestling. So and it's hard because like he comes to all the pro wrestling magic shows, and when I'm a good guy, I get to go out there, interact with them, play around with them. But past couple of years now, I've been a bad guy, so I can't go out there and have fun with the kids anymore. I got to be a bad guy. But I love going out there like after the show or whatever, and I'll grab Mikey and I'll pick him up and I'll just look at his mom, go, "I'm stealing your kid," and I'll run away with her child and I throw him into the ring. And like during intermission, especially, like me and him will just roll around the ring. Like I'm supposed to be out there trying to sell T-shirts and stuff like that to make ends meet because God knows we don't make much money doing wrestling. But like, so I'm supposed to be out there trying to sell T-shirts and stuff, but instead I'm in the ring, rolling around with Mikey, and I'll climb on the top rope and stand over him like I'm gonna splash him. He just laughs hysterically. But like, moments like that, like, just feeling those moments you don't forget. I'll probably forget half the matches I've had. Matter of fact, I have a spreadsheet on Google Drive where I've listed every match I've ever had because I want to remember them. Because like I get dropped on my head a lot, I'm probably gonna forget a lot of them. But like those moments, like where I get to share that with Mikey, or I went to this one little boy Wyatt. His parents or his grandparents asked me to come to his birthday, so they got a refrigerator box and they stuck me in a refrigerator box. So when he came to open up his presents and he picked up the refrigerator box, it was me. And like seeing him like, break down and cry and come give me a hug and stuff like that, man. Like those are the moments like I could never forget those. One little girl, this one boggled my mind the other day. There's one little girl in Massachusetts area. I think Connecticut, Massachusetts area. She used to come to all the Massachusetts show, her brother, and her dad. And like I met her when she was like, must have been like 6 years old, 7 years old, somewhere in there. And like she was doing karate and stuff like that, and she was going to like nationals, but they had to buy a plane ticket, so they were strapped for cash. So like I took one of these dolls, and it's like a Raggedy Ann doll that we kind of like cut all the clothes and the hair and everything else off of, and we painted it to look like a smiley character, and we auctioned it off during intermission, me and her. And then like it sold for like I think like $120, something like that. And like we gave her dad the money, but like that moment of her getting to like stand in the ring and try and like sell this doll and stuff like that, it was just special moments like that. And like now, like the other day I went online because of course she has me on Instagram and stuff like that, and she's graduating. I went, wait a minute, like you're like 6 years old, like what happened? She goes, no, I age every year. And I went, no, you're not allowed. You have to stay 6 years old. That's how I know you. She going to prom and she's like graduating high school and stuff. And I went, what? I told her, I go, stop growing up. She goes, I'll try.
Okay, so now I gotta touch something here because you mentioned cerebral palsy and you
Yes.
mentioned disabilities. Well, what's funny is I've wrestled and reffed and for over 22 years, and I myself am disabled. And what's funny about that is the man up here that's my co-host tonight has got cerebral palsy.
Yep.
So we, as you can tell, we call our podcast Inclusion Matters.
Yep.
Because people forget that disabled people are people too. But I will say that I respect what you're doing and keep that up because for 22 years, I've always given back to kids that have been told we can't do this. And then I go in there and they're like, whoa. So you just inspired me. And now because of that, I'm going to ask this on behalf of our company. We would love to invite you to come out and work for us down the road.
Hell
Here in
yeah.
the great state of Washington, and our promoter right up there is Nathan. His real name's Nathan, and he has cerebral palsy. And I was a Shriners kid,
Yeah.
so we would love to have you if you are down to come out to the great state of Washington.
Absolutely. It would be my honor.
All right, that's what my question was to you. There, you inspired me, and so now I got to go off the air a little bit.
So let me piggyback off that and I'll ask a question. So I want to say something to Mikey if you're listening, because that kind of touched me for a second, right? Don't ever let anybody tell you just because you have cerebral palsy or you're in a wheelchair that you can't do anything.
Amen, brother.
Because for
Amen.
20 years, people told me I would never be involved in wrestling, and I would never be able to like do this podcast, right? And it was kind of nice that I was doing it, right? But look, now I'm getting ready to start a promotion, and I'm doing this podcast. We've done almost 150 episodes. So, like, Mikey, you can do whatever you put your mind to, man. If you want to come and have people, like, splash you or roll around in the ring, more power to you. And you're going to change the world, buddy, just like the rest of us. So,
Hell yeah.
Amen.
And there's so many incredible wrestlers out there too that like if you guys know Gregory Iron, Like Gregory Iron is a pro wrestler based out of Ohio with cerebral palsy,
Yep.
Yep.
and like he's phenomenal. Like
Zach
he's one
Gowen.
guy like I've always wanted to wrestle, and he's always wanted to wrestle me. You know, like we've always been like real cool, especially when we talked about how we both got screwed over by the same promoter based out of Ohio. You know, because he screwed both of us out of money, built our little friendship off of that. But like you have like Gregory Iron in Ohio. There's if you guys know Steve the Turtle Weiner
Yep.
out of Rhode Island. He's autistic, but he's a professional wrestler. And he's so fun. Like he's so ridiculously fun to work with and like to talk to. You got Zach Gowen, of course. You know, the one-legged wonder. Like, you know, Zach's always been real cool with me, and like we've always had like great conversations. Like, phenomenal wrestler. You know, but like they've always overcome like the difficulties they've had. Like, you know, and it's great. You know, I love watching like those stories. You know, I love watching like people overcome. That's kind of like what I was saying earlier. I'm trying to get those shirts out soon. Like if I can get the money to get where like people doubt me because I'm fat. Like I understand like I'm a heavy set guy, and like I have a problem with like, you know, I use food as comfort. You know, I get sad, I get depressed, I get overworked, I get, you know, my mind's fucking blowing up on me. My first reaction is like, I'm just gonna have this double cheeseburger with extra pickles, load it with mayo and ketchup, and I'll be fine. You know, that's not the way to go. I understand that, but like, I'm a husky guy. But like, people doubt it because like, oh, that's not what a wrestler's supposed to be like. That's not how a wrestler's supposed to look like. And like, you know, Dusty Rhodes wasn't exactly the skinniest guy in the world. You know, yeah.
No, absolutely wasn't. You're
No,
right.
it wasn't.
You can't define like what a wrestler's supposed to be because like you don't match what they think a wrestler's supposed to be. And like I love the fact that you're opening like the company soon and stuff like that. Like stuff it down their throats. Give them a kick in the ass and like, you know, give them the bird on your way by. You know.
Yep.
You know what's
'Cause
funny?
you know,
Go ahead. I'm gonna leave you with this real quick because like when I first started, it was weird, right? I started in like pre 2000, so like we're talking like when wrestling was still like Attitude Era shit, barely had internet, like, and I remember. Here's the funny thing. I remember Zach Gowen got all this national pub because he got endorsed basically by Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
And what was funny was I started before Zach Gowen, and I'm a Northwest like legend out here in the Northwest. And what's funny about that is I told this the other day on the air. My first match was a handicap match against one of our top wrestlers at the time out here in the Northwest. He literally duct taped himself up so we could do this, where he had to have one arm behind his back. I wrestled him. It was the best like 10-minute match like that they had that night, and everybody back there when I got back there was like, "You fucking belong." So that's my message to not only you but to Michael. And don't ever let nobody say, because look, I'm a big man too. Don't ever let nobody tell you because you're fat you ain't made it, brother.
Hell yeah.
and but one last thing before we move on. Use what people say as your motivation, right? Because everything somebody said about me that I couldn't do something, that just made me want to do it more, right? So
Nope.
it was like, okay, if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to prove you wrong, right? It might take me a while to get there, but I'm going to prove you wrong.
Absolutely. And it's funny too because it's like, you know, again, it's so sad. Like we're also like subjective to like the negative comments will always be the ones that stick in your head. But like I have to sit back sometimes and it's like some guy on the internet will sit there and run their mouth about like how like, oh, this guy's too fat to be in wrestling. Like, look at Chubby over here doing the thing. And like, you know, one of the most embarrassing moments, like I'll throw this out there, like one of the most embarrassing moments of my like wrestling career. And like I think the only time I ever actually appeared in ring without a mask on was like the first match I ever did. It was the one where Ricky Morton was on. I go out to the ring. I'm all excited. My family's in the front row. I slid into the ring and I flipped onto my feet, like kind of super crazy like. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. And I took my shirt off and I hear somebody in the crowd go, let's go, middies. And like started picking on me for being fat. I'm sitting there going, I'm the good guy. Like, you're not supposed to be picking on me. I'm the good guy. But like, that stuck with me since then. But like, and like, I went through a phase where it was like, almost like starving myself just to lose weight and stuff like that. But like, And it's so sad that like those are the moments that kind of stick with you. But then I have like, I went and did that CZW show, and I got somebody like Gregory Iron who's been doing this years before me, and he's been all over the world. He comes up to me and goes, "Man, I just want to let you know you're really good. Like you're incredibly good for what you do in there. Like it's amazing." And it's like, I got people like Lindsay Dorado, who's a fan of like my work and stuff like that, and I've worked with him and talked to him, and like, I got to remember like those guys, like the guys who matter, like who like have been around the world can like notice, that I can do some incredible stuff at the way I am, and like ignore the keyboard warriors who's over here just trying to piss me off and like make dumb comments on Instagram, like. But it's so easy to stick to like the negative comments sometimes.
Absolutely. So let's go with the top 5 indie male wrestlers. Top 5 indie male wrestlers.
Top 5 indie male wrestlers. Well, I put Red on my Mount Rushmore, so I'll hold him off. But he knows he's one of my favorites. I gotta remember who's indie still and who not, because I would have said like for high fly. Well, you know what? Would Will Ospreay still count as an indie guy?
Yeah, I would count that.
That still counts as indie.
Yeah, because he's not exactly signed anywhere unless you count New Japan. But
right, so yeah, but we're thinking people like not signed. So like, let's say like best high flyer I can think of, probably Will Ospreay. Though I will throw this out there, we got a couple kids coming up from like the House of Glory school that might be giving like some of these high flyers a run for their money, man. Like we got this one kid, Jody, ridiculously agile. Darren Richardson, if anybody wants to look him up, coming out of like the House of Glory dojo, and Raheem Royale, like, these kids can do some stuff that like I didn't even know were imaginable. And like I remember doing matches with Mark Quinn where he was doing like the people's elbow gimmick, but instead of hitting an elbow, he just hits a standing 450 splash. It's like, how is that physically possible? But like, Raheem Royale, Darren Richardson, and Jody, like those boys are gonna give some of these high flyers a run for the money, like once they start getting out there. Sorry, I got sidetracked. So I would definitely go high flyer wise, probably Will Ospreay. Technical wise, I'm gonna have to stick with my buddy there, Dean Allmark. Like I know that there's some incredible technicians out there, but Dean I can always go back to watch and always enjoy. Who else we got there? I'm trying to remember. It's so hard because like so many people have been signed that like I would have listed, but like Delirious is definitely gonna have to be one of them for me. Just character wise, like there's not many people that have done better character work than Delirious. I spoke gibberish for the first 8 years of my career because I was biting off Delirious. Then I was scared to cut promos.
But I still speak gibberish.
If you ask my girlfriend, she'd probably tell you I speak gibberish all the time. Especially when she's trying to talk to me at 1 o'clock in the morning. I think somebody I want to put on there just because I don't think they get enough like enough real props is Facade. Like Facade, man, phenomenal. Like watching that man work is ridiculous. And like he does things I didn't think the human body should physically be able to do. And it's awesome. And technically I can add this one too, because like he's no longer with the E. But if you guys ever watch like Ricardo Rodriguez wrestle, like he's phenomenal. I work with Ricardo a lot at Three Legacies. Three Legacies Wrestling is part owner of that one. And like for one, like as a human being, phenomenal person. Like he actually reached out to me originally because like he saw me posting some clips or something on, I think it was TikTok. And he just hit me up. He goes, "Hey, I have some advice if you would take it." Absolutely. So like he came to me with like advice, and then like we just started talking. We became cool, and last I want to say it was last September, something like that. We did the Lucha Expo at the ECW arena, and like we really got to sit down and just hang out and talk, and like he's just, as a human being, he's one of the best guys I know. Uh, but as a wrestler, man, so creative. Like there's a lot of moves done today that people don't realize he was doing back in the day, mainly because he was doing it under a mask. But I would definitely add him to one of my top 5 favorites. So I'll go Osprey, Delirious, Dean Allmark, Facade, and Ricardo Rodriguez. Again, that's probably something that would change if you asked me tomorrow. Ask me in an hour, and I'll probably give you 5 different names. But
What's funny is Ricardo Rodriguez. What's funny is Ricardo Rodriguez was just out here. I think either at the last DOA show we had here or the show before that.
Yeah.
And in Oregon.
Yeah, I remember seeing the advertisement for
that. And what's funny about it is, and here's my, I guess it's my question, right, Nate?
Yeah.
Or Messiah? It's my question. So now I gotta know, because I've ref luchas, and my God, you guys are fucking phenomenal. That's all I'm gonna say. It's hard as shit to ref a lucha match, but I gotta say this when it comes to this aspect alone. I was trained by a man named Tito Carrion, who's one of like the Mexican version of Ric Flair. Like literally, look him up, Google him. He wrestled Argentine Rocca.
Really?
Yeah,
love Argentine Rocca.
I was trained, and I used to do some shows for this man out in Hillsboro, Oregon, which we call it Hill's Burrito for a reason. But like basically, he had mentioned how like and I feel like you would know like of this, because he wasn't a small man. So coming from a guy that could literally took Argentina Rocca to a time limit draw and Ric Flair to a time limit draw, like, what is your thoughts on a more like intellect level of like CMLL, AAA, Lucha Underground? Give me like, because this is, I've opened a whole new perspective, because Lucha is like my favorite actually of all wrestling. Like, what is your thoughts and your dreams like to be able to go to something like that, or like wrestle in Mexico? Like, have you gotten to wrestle in Mexico?
Mexico is a huge dream of mine. I kick myself in the butt all the time, because I actually had an opportunity a few years ago. I think it was with GCW. They were doing a show out in Mexico, and they had hit me up to go. And I think at the time, like, I only had like the little passport card, so I can only drive over the border. I couldn't fly, so I couldn't do it. But like, I always kick myself in the butt for never having my passport book. Like, I just recently had to put in for the passport book because of that show. I'm supposed to be going to Guatemala and wrestling out there for Lucha Fiesta, I believe is the name of the company. Excuse me. But Mexico, man, is a huge one. I remember actually talking to Laredo Kid a little while back, because we had a match one time at the first time I wrestled in the ECW arena was for the Trent Acid Cup for Game Changer Wrestling. It was me, Ken Broadway, Zima Ion, or Walking Wild, I think his name is now, and Lindsay Dorado, not Lindsay Dorado, and Laredo Kid. And we saw each other again at a lucha show in Jersey. And he was telling me, I'm like, asking him, like, how do you get recognized by somebody like AAA? Because like, I would love to get to like AAA. Like, Triple Mania is like my WrestleMania. Like, I want to get on Triple Mania.
Right.
So like, and he's like, oh, like there's this other company. It's a little smaller, but like you work that one, and then they maybe put your name in there to get on the AAA shows, and then you build up. And all right, that's cool. He goes, have you worked for them yet? I went, no, I've never been to Mexico. He goes, what? He goes, you've never been to Mexico? I went, no. He goes, you're very creative. Why are you not in Mexico? I went, I don't know. Nobody's asked me to come to Mexico yet. I remember I lived in California for a little while, years ago, like way before I became a wrestler. And we went to Mexico once. And it was to like pick up like my roommate's aunt or something like that. And like I was all excited. We're going to Mexico. We're going to have fun. We're going to do all this crazy stuff. We literally drove over the border, picked her up, and then like they're like, let's get lunch. I'm like, all right, we're gonna get some Mexican lunch. We ended up at a McDonald's, and I was so mad. like, why are we at McDonald's in Mexico? I want tacos and burritos, or like, give me something. You know, it's like going to Pennsylvania and not getting a cheesesteak. Who does that?
Like I could go to like on a corner like in California and get to McDonald's. Like
Right. And then like, of course, I wasn't thinking like the currency exchange and stuff like that. And I look up on the thing, it's like $3,000 for a Big Mac. What the fuck? Like, somebody had to remind me that I was being an idiot. But I'm sorry, I rambled again.
no, you're good.
You should hear me when I start training people at the school, man. I go off on these tangents. I'm like, I'm so sorry. What were we doing? Rolls?
Don't feel it's like Tourette's, man. It's okay.
I'm sorry. What was the question? One more time.
Oh fuck, I forgot.
No, you answered it. The question was, have you ever wrestled in Mexico?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I would love to go to Mexico, and I love like I just love the style, like the gimmick they were doing recently for like AAA, where like they were having like a losers tournament. It's like you don't get that very often, you know, like the loser stays in the tournament, and then the loser of the whole tournament has to like go do a hair versus mask match or something like that. It's like, what? Like I've never heard of something like that before. Like that's crazy. And like it's just like the style, like I love explaining the style to people because like they never like younger students and stuff like that, and they're like, you know, they ask me like, oh, well, like what is it like about lucha libre, and like how's lucha libre work or whatever. And like the way I usually break it down to people is I'm like here's the difference between wrestling and lucha libre. In wrestling, you're using your opponent's body weight against them to get them where you want them. You know, I'm pulling over so your body weight takes you over in the headlock takeover, and I can get you on the ground. But in lucha libre, I'm using my body weight to put you where I want you. You know, I'm giving you a Hurricane Rana. I'm throwing my body weight back while I have your headlocked, and you're coming with me. You don't have a choice, you know? So, like, that's just my usual breakdown for people that ask me, like, the difference between wrestling and lucha libre, you know?
Very nice. And I'm glad you brought up that tournament too, because I thought that was interesting how it was like a tag team thing too.
Yeah.
So not only was it like the loser thing, but like you didn't know who your partner was gonna be, like part of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like the fact that like all the teams were like people that had feuds together.
Yeah.
So, like what was it? It was like Psycho Clown and Sam Adonis. It's like these two hate each other, and now they have to coexist to like not get their head shaved or like not to get their mask taken, and like, oh, it's crazy. Like it's such a cool concept.
And like they had dream like partnerships too. Like they had Ultimo Dragon and Pentagon Jr.
Yo.
Like, I mean, that's like a dream that you do like on a video game or something, man. Like,
oh, and Ultimo Dragon, man. Oh, Ultimo Dragon could have been in any of those lists you asked about earlier about like greatest wrestler or like Mount Rushmore, man. Like he is so good, and like even now, like he's an older man, and he's still phenomenal. Like, you know, and that's another thing. Like everybody picking on me for my weight and stuff. Like, you watch these guys from Lucha Libre. They are some chunky dudes, but they do some phenomenal stuff. You know, but it's like.
I'll hit on that. What's funny is I reffed a guy named out here, and I'm sure Messiah knows about this guy. This guy was named La Bestia, and he's a bigger lucha guy, right? And he was wrestling a guy named El Gato, and well, yeah, I was reffing this match. Now this is funny you mentioned big guys because I was reffing this match. Now mind you, I don't speak Spanish. I don't even know a lick. And like Tito told me, you got to go out there and you got to count these guys. You got to. Well, they were trying to work me because I'm American, and so there's no tagging in and out.
Nope.
And so like I'm totally lost. Like I'm trying to kick one of them out, and one of them looks at me and goes, "Amigo, what? This is perfectly legal." And I'm like, "You speak fucking good English now." And I go to count. So it gets perfectly better. I go to count 1, 2, right? Because I'm green as shit back then. and they're looking at me, and I'm almost hitting 3, and I could tell like the guy's like looking at me, and I hear Tito yelling uno dos amigo, say uno dos, and I'm like, oh my, like I love lucha, but like I don't think I want to ref it because there's just because like there's just too much 20 10 5
Yeah.
freaking bullshit, but like it's the greatest art form of all pro wrestling in my opinion, the
Oh, it's
greatest art form, and
when done right, because there's a lot of bad lucha out there.
yeah, there
But
is.
when done right, man, there's nothing better.
But Nathan, we're about that point. We probably should get our sponsorships and that out the way. Get one last question in, and we will call this a night with you.
So where can we find you on social media, and when's your next show?
Alrighty. My next show, I have Warriors of Wrestling next Friday. I have the Monster Factory is next Saturday, where I'll be defending my middleweight medallion. I recently won, so I'm the middleweight champion over there at Monster Factory, which is
That's cool.
it's shocking because like they've developed some of the greatest talent, out there. I mean, Damian Priest is a Monster Factory student, so like there's so many like incredible talent that come from there. The Three Legacies show is coming up on the 19th, which is a huge one for me. Very excited for that. If Delirious decides to accept my challenge, I should challenge him to a pure rules match. Is what I should have done. Now that I think about it, really challenge myself in that pure wrestling art form. House of Glory has a show coming up. I'm trying to get on. I don't know if I'm going to, but I'm trying to get on the Matt Travis Battle Royal because Matt Travis was a dear friend of mine, and ever since we lost him, matter of fact, tomorrow will be Matt Travis's birthday, so that one's gonna hit hard. Yeah, I got a bunch of really fun things coming up. A lot of really cool opportunities. Like I said, I'm supposed to be going to Guatemala in October. Hopefully, going back to Canada I was supposed to go up to Canada for Death Proof Fight Club, but it's supposed to be the same day as Guatemala, so I don't know. I don't think I'll be able to make that double shot.
Quite a ways away from each other. So.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a travel. But yeah, like I'm trying to get many more places now that I got my passport book. I'm trying to get to more overseas bookings. I want to get out to England. I want to get out to Mexico. Japan would be a huge one. I try and tell Sumi Sakai all the time that I'm gonna hide in her suitcase whenever she goes home. Sumi, man, like Sumi Sakai is one of the best. If you guys have ever known Sumi, one of the greatest human beings alive. That's another thing, man. It's like crazy. Like, I'm sorry I ramble on you, but like it's crazy that like some of these people you meet, like just unbelievable. Like I won't blow up on here who it was because I don't know if he wants me blowing up his spot. But I wrestled one guy. He was going to the WWE, and it was like his last match in Canada or something like that. We had like this match. We had fun. We were doing all sorts of ridiculousness. And then we did. At the end of the match, we're talking. He goes, "Listen, I know that drive from New York is long, and you guys, really had to hustle to get up here. Take this, get yourself something to eat." And he handed me out of his pay. He handed me $40 to go get dinner, and it's like this is somebody who's literally going to the WWE. Like he doesn't need to be that kind to me. He doesn't have to be that good of a person to me, but like he's phenomenal. He's like one of the greatest people I know, and like even like when we did the Lucha Expo at ECW Arena, like we went and got breakfast with him one day. He's like, "Oh, I gotta go make a phone call," and then he comes back. He's like, "Oh yeah, your food's already paid for." It's like, son of a gun. But like just such giving people, and like that, I think that's my big thing in wrestling is like I want to give back. I want to give back. I want to give the fans. I want to give back to the wrestlers. I want to give back to the fans. Like that's my ultimate goal with all this is I want to make an impact in somebody's life. Sorry, you asked me about where to find me. Instagram, TikTok, or now X, I guess it's called, which concerned me, by the way, because I look on my phone and I see an app with an X. I get a little nervous. I'm like, I did not download this app, woman. You had to reassure the girlfriend, like, I didn't, whatever this is, I did not download it. It's like, no, that's TikTok now. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, Instagram, TikTok, I think even Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, it's all Smiley_Lucha. And then on Facebook, it's under Ernest Price, which is the doctor from the asylum that I go to. He runs that for me. And then Pro Wrestling Tees, I have some shirts up on Pro Wrestling Tees if anybody's interested in getting some shirts. And I don't think I have a MySpace anymore, so I don't think I can give you that.
Very nice. And I'd like to say thank you to our sponsors, El Ranchero. So thank you for sponsoring. T, you want to hit our new pressure wash sponsor? Can't hear you, buddy.
Precision power washing.
There you go. And then our other two are the CARE program, which stands for Community Action Reaching Everybody. And the lady that's in charge of that is Becky Bernhardt. And then Bruce Nichols Painting for all your painting, pressure washing, and lead removal needs. And you can find him on Angie. So again, we want to thank you for coming on, and can't wait to see you when we do our show in November. And we're gonna have a blast. So
Hell yeah, you guys give me the date and I'll make sure to get there.
November
Alright, sounds good.
25th.
November 25th?
November
Alright,
25th.
I'll check the books as soon as I hang up.
all right.
Yeah, let
Good.
us know right away. You can contact either one of us. Messiah has my information. If not, I am the booker for
Hell yeah.
Yep.
for it. And so, if you have it and you want to come out, man, we'd love to have you.
I would love
If
to.
not, the booking opportunity still will be there for you.
Yep.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you guys very much for having me on. This was a blast.
All right, and you're welcome back anytime too. So
You guys got an opening? I'll fill it for you.
all right, sounds good. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.